I thought it's about time that I show my face on my own channel again. Sorry for the absence. I will try be a little bit more consistent and regular going forward. Speaking of going forward, I would like to put the emphasis on sort of useful car buying advice, maintenance, living with kind of features, a little bit more in-depth stuff. Starting with this car, it is a 2020 Suzuki Ertiga. It's a car that I've owned since March 2020, so it's exactly 4 years of ownership. It's done about 40,000 Ks, and even though I'm not the regular driver, my wife is, I do think 4 years living with a car, you can give some really good buying advice, and that's what I'm going to try and do. So we bought this car, as I said, March 2020, and the reasons were really the kids were getting older and bigger, and we found that quite often we needed 7 seats because the kids have friends, the kids have surfboards. You might actually hear some surfboards sliding around in the back, and short day trips with more than, let's say, 4 people, and for that we needed a 7-seater. And also occasionally we went on, or we go on, long distance trips, and the test car that I have is not always conducive to long distance trips with a lot of luggage and stuff. So we needed a kind of a catch-all car, and preferably a 7-seater. Must be automatic and affordable and reliable. And when I buy a car, and especially when I buy a car knowing that it's mostly going to be my wife driving it, I want a car that I have full confidence in reliability and sort of no fuss driving. And at the time, Suzuki had just won the Costa Consumer Awards Brand of the Year for the second time, I think. And knowing and working with the survey quite a lot, I know that Suzuki owners really believe in the cars, and for that reason I thought it would be a good buy. So we paid around about 260,000 Rand back in 2020 for the GL automatic. And if you want to buy the similar car now, obviously been upgraded and a few features added, you will pay 334,000 Rand. It's about a 30% increase in the space of 4 years, but I think still, as far as 7-seaters go, a really good value. Now, I don't think anybody buys one of these compact 7-seater MPVs for the style statement they make. Nevertheless, I think when this came out in 2019, 2020, thereabouts, I thought at the time that it was certainly the most attractive of the mini MPVs. And I think it's aged reasonably well as well. Of course, the roads are now full of them. These have taken over the Uber and the rental car markets and the fleet markets. So you see a lot of these on the road. You will notice that I have fitted aftermarket wheel covers. And the story behind that is that, people, they seem to be in high demand. I've had a full set stolen twice, replaced them twice. Third time, I decided, no, this is getting too expensive. And if you want to replace a single plastic wheel cover on a Suzuki Ertiga from Suzuki, it's 450 Rand. These I bought this set for, I think, around 200, 300 Rand from AutoZone, and nobody's touched the wheel cover since. The simplicity and robustness of the cabin really appeals to me. Personally, I even quite like the design. The seats are very comfy, but sadly there is no height adjustment for the driver. The driving position is nevertheless good though. The instrumentation is a classic analog dial setup flanking a LCD display for the trip computer. A minor irritant is the lack of an outside temperature readout. The Ertiga looks like it's got a fancy infotainment screen, but it doesn't. You can connect your phone via Bluetooth, however. Obviously, in this particular model year Ertiga, there is no Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. But if you buy new, the latest model does have this feature. The aircon is simple but effective, using conventional knobs and buttons. Lower down, there are USB and aux ports, as well as a 12-volt socket. A really nice touch is that the aircon extends into the front cup holders. So what is the Ertiga like to drive? Well, it's powered by Suzuki's very well proven 1.5 litre 4-cylinder engine. It's used in a vast number of Suzukis and obviously also Toyotas, so parts really not a problem. Reliability pretty much bulletproof. Look, it's no ball of fire. It's 77 kilowatts and 138 newton meters of torque. It's not a lot of torque for a 7-seater, but surprisingly, my wife's managed to get us a lot of speeding fines in this car, so it's not slow. But then again, she does treat the throttle pedal like an on and off switch. With that in mind, I must say the fuel economy is really good. This car has been consistent no matter, load, type of driving, city, town, whatever, it doesn't matter. It sort of averages 7.5 liters to the 100, which is, I think, pretty impressive given most of the driving is around town and obviously my wife putting her foot flat. The engine is mated with a 4-speed auto. Again, don't expect fireworks, but as the speeding fines show, can get a move on. It does occasionally hunt, and it's 4 speeds trying to find all 138 newton meters of torque. It will hunt, especially when fully loaded. You're sort of at the speed limit and you want to overtake. You're going to have to be patient and do some forward planning. But it's a relatively refined engine. I think for what it is and the gearbox that it has, they've been matched together very nicely. And if you drive this car with a sort of a relaxed mindset, it's actually pleasant. Another aspect of the Ertiga that I've really enjoyed is the ride quality. It's a very soft, supple car, so perfect for the kind of use that we've needed it for. On sort of quite bumpy surfaces, fully loaded, there is a little bit too much sort of rebound in the suspension when it's heavily loaded, but that's been a very rare occurrence. Mostly around town, a delight, easy steering. The whole car, compared to something like a Avanza, for example, it just feels like a more refined, together car that its rivals. If I had to nitpick, I would say, given that this is a family car, the fact that it doesn't have stability control is a bit worrying to me. But I must add that the latest model does have that added. It still only has 2 airbags though, which I think also, again, given the nature of the car, is it's not really acceptable. But then again, you're going to pay more if they add more airbags. So it's always a balance. The car has had a few bumper bashings though. Yeah, pretty much within the first month after we had the car, somebody drove into the back of it, and the tailgate still closed properly, no issue, but obviously with insurance and so on, we had to replace the tailgate. That's a 10,000 Rand item. I can say that in terms of parts availability, and especially crash parts, those are obviously the ones that quite often trip up the importers. We've not really had any issues in terms of waiting for parts. The Ertiga's K15B engine is robust and affordable to maintain. My trusted mechanic has nothing bad to report. Overseas, however, there are reports of high oil consumption and timing chain problems, the latter only above 160,000 kilometers. So, buy a low mileage example with a full service history, not an ex-Uber van. In the 4 years that we've had the car, it's been serviced annually. Generally, we've taken it to Suzuki in Tableview, and the service has been good. I can't say that it's been mind-blowingly good, but they tick the boxes, and there's been nothing really to complain about. Right, so seated in the back of the Ertiga, and yeah, it's very spacious. I'm seated behind my own driving position at the moment. You can see there's more than enough legroom, plenty of headroom, and you can slide the seat backwards as well, or forward if you want to give the guys in the back a little bit more space. I'll jump in the back shortly to show you that you can actually fit 300s sort of in a row in this car, even if it's not, you know, for a long distance trip. Also nice in the back here, you've got your own ventilation controls here, nicely positioned, and the backrest angle is actually also adjustable. So yeah, you can actually, if you really wanted to, lounge here. There's a power socket here, but no USB port. But you know, for a family of 5, really comfortable, really spacious, and obviously as a 5-seater, you do have a lot of luggage space. The criticism, which I'll get back to in some point in this video, is around safety features. This only has a lap belt for the center passenger in the back, which isn't great. There is an armrest as well, which is nice, and fairly big drinks holders in the doors. The doors, by the way, nice and big, and they're open wide, so getting a baby seat in, for example, is no hassle. Okay, so seated in the third row of the Ertiga, and as you can see, I'm quite spread-legged here. The backrest is quite close, not going to lie. It is workable though for short trips. If the guy in front of you or the lady in front of you sits a little bit forward, the seat base definitely looks like it can adjust a little bit more forward, and the backrest as well. So it's usable. You've got drinks holders on both sides. No ventilation outlets back here though, but certainly enough headroom. The ventilation vents in the second row is not too far away either, so it shouldn't become too claustrophobic. Nice view out the window as well for the kids. And the other nice thing is that unlike many of the other smaller 7-seaters, your head doesn't sort of graze, well, the roof in the first place, but secondly also the back window, which I think yeah, just all these little things add up to a car that's more spacious and more practical than the competition. Definitely one of the main reasons why I bought Ertiga was, in my view, practicality-wise, luggage capacity-wise, you just can't beat this car amongst its direct rivals. So as you can see, it's here with all 7 seats up, and there's still a decent amount of length to the boot space, let's say about 30-40 centimeters odd, and these boot boards lift up. You can remove them as well, and underneath there's a really surprising amount of space. I found that on longer trips, like on the holidays, you can fit shoes, soft bags, lots of odds and ends in there that frees up the cabin for the bulkier stuff. Speaking of which, if you are only 4 or 5 and you can use the full boot, that's very big. I'll put the exact figure on the screen, but nice flat floor, nice and boxy space, big opening as well, high lifting tailgate. So yeah, I fitted in many bulky items in this boot, and everything feels sturdy and hard wearing, which I also really like. Lifting up the seat again, you just pull the strap. It's a really simple, practical, spacious luggage compartment. Just want to point out, while I'm driving here on a not so great surface, it's not a rattle or a squeak in this car after 40,000 k's. It's really nicely built, especially given the price point. It's impressive, you know, and this shows you that cheap doesn't have to be nasty, and I appreciate that. So as you've seen, I've been very happy with my Suzuki Ertiga. I can highly recommend them. Buying a 2020 Suzuki Ertiga now in 2024, you're looking at sort of similar pricing to what they were when they were new, even for mileage similar to mine, for automatic, so around 250 to 260,000 Rand. So they've kept their value quite well. They're obviously quite desirable in the market, these automatics, because there aren't many of them listed on Costco's at the moment. I only found 3, and that's nationwide. Other vehicles to consider, obviously, there's a Toyota Ramyon, which is basically the same car, exactly the same car actually. And so if you don't have a Suzuki dealer in your area, then you can still buy a Suzuki, but it'll have a Toyota badge. The others, the Honda BRV is now a considerably more expensive car, and the Mitsubishi Expander it's actually a pretty good car, and not too much more expensive than a Suzuki Ertiga or Toyota Ramyon. Whether you buy new or used, I still think that the Ertiga is the best value compact 7-seater you can get. 4 years and 40,000 kilometers later, I am more sure of that than ever before.